to Denver. It's Chopping Up with Shelly over here at Hollywood's Barbershop. I have Eddie Lopez with Scalp Artistry in the house tonight. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good,
Thanks for
good,
having
good.
me.
Yay, I'm excited to have you. What we're talking about is scalp micropigmentation. And Eddie, tell us a little bit about what that is.
So, scalp micropigmentation is the art of implanting microdots on the scalp to either give a fuller look for someone who doesn't have hair, or darkening of the scalp for someone who has longer hair and doesn't want the bright white scalp.
Okay. How did you get started in that?
Oh my goodness. So my cousin actually got the procedure in 13. He showed it to me. I contacted his artist and that company. I got my procedure done in 14. Um, Trained with that company in 14. Opened under that company's banner in 14. So I opened the first standalone scalp center in Denver
Wow.
in 2014.
Wow. And now where has that taken you as of then,
Oh
up until
man,
now?
I've been all over the world. I just got back from Manchester, and before that, I went to Thailand, and I've been all over Canada, Puerto Rico, Spain, all over the United States, learning,
Hmm.
teaching, and performing the procedure. So lots of positive um, things to do in the
Yeah.
industry.
Now, aside from SMP is what we call it, right? What other services do you provide at your business, your dressing
So
business?
we do scalp pigmentation. We do areola reconstruction for cancer and mastectomy
Okay.
clients. We also do eyebrow and stretch mark rejuvenation.
Mm.
We just recently added a couple of new devices that perform non-invasive facelift, body contouring, stem cell treatments for the scalp and face. So a
Tell me
lot
a
of
little bit about that one. What does that entail?
man, the so it's the Aquaferm XS by Aesthetic Management Partners. And what we do is we'll do a series of treatments that utilize um, a cupping technique and also a RF handpiece that deliver the exosomes into the scalp.
Mm.
And so what that does is it revitalizes the scalp, it strengthens the hair shafts, and then all the peach fuzz, it turns that into 3, 5, and 7 hair shafts.
Mm.
So definitely some exciting stuff. All of these things that we offer are non-invasive, so meaning it's not a surgery. There's no downtime. Most of the stuff you can do and go right back to work right after lunch.
Mm. For somebody that is considering, SMP, what would be some things that you would tell them to consider before they decided?
There's so much misinformation and there's so much just hoopla
Hmm.
now. Definitely, you want to find someone with at least 5 years experience. I would recommend someone that has the procedure, whether it's just a few dots on the scalp they got during training, or someone like me who actually has had the procedure for over 10 years. Also, I would go with someone that has their own pigment line. That just shows that they're a stronger company and they're not working with someone else, which they could quit and work with someone else in another week. So,
Hmm.
um, usually artists are very, very, very heavily tied to their pigment and needle configuration. So, if a company is providing that, that's usually a stronger company.
Mm. Now, if they were to get that service, it lasts 4 to 6 years.
So I got my first touch up like in year 5.
Year five.
So our pigment is vegan quality. It's manufactured for us right here in the U.S. in Baltimore, Maryland, by Waverly Color, and it's rated for 10 years.
Mm.
So I see people come back. I mean, TV people come back every year. They don't care. They want 5 dots or 10 dots, whatever. They
Hmm.
come back every year. Anyone that's on TV or public figure, they're going to come back every year.
Hmm.
Um, but I've dealt with some docs and some people who are very high up in the health and well-being um, circles, and man, I'll see them every 5, 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What kind of things would create it to fade and need a touch up?
normal wear and tear. Like if some people's just, your body metabolism's faster. So obviously, I'm not blessed with that. But some people they're runners, they're joggers, they're walkers, they're dog walkers. They're just fidgety people, or they're gym rats, or their job is they work for the Parks and Rec or something.
Mm-hmm.
They're in and out of the car and just burning calories all day long. So if anyone's gonna require touch ups more frequently, it's going to be the more active person.
Mm. What about like wearing hats? Does that kind of stuff, like sun exposure, that kind of stuff, shampooing, getting haircuts, is that going to add to any kind of fading and needing a touch up eventually?
So the thing that's great questions. Usually, the shampoo, as long as it's 50% alcohol by volume or less, you're fine with that. Hats are great. I mean, ball cap, cowboy hat, dress hat, doesn't matter. They do great. You want to let it breathe a little bit. So, I mean, definitely the netted trucker hats
Mm-hmm.
are kind of cool for the guys, and the girls wear those too. So at some point, so but yeah, those types of things generally will help the procedure last a little bit longer. So just being careful in those areas.
Over there at your place of business, where do you see the most common services being requested from all the services that you provide?
Oh my gosh. So we're doing a lot in the body contour and the non-invasive facelift space. I have a pretty aggressive marketing team there, so we're seeing a lot of that. Obviously, the scalp pigmentation, we've been doing it for so long, and we've got a pretty good thing going there. So, yeah, that's staying busy. You know, it's business as usual. Obviously,
Yeah,
holidays are a little trickier.
yeah.
You want to be sensitive to people and their families and that kind of thing. So I always run really aggressive specials during this quarter or this end of the year, and that helps people, especially if you're buying it for someone. I mean, if you're going to buy someone a present, and it's $1,000 present,
Mm-hmm.
this is $1,000 present that somebody's going to want for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
An Apple Watch and a phone, they're going to want a new one next year.
Right, as soon as the new one
So
comes out.
I mean, that $1,000 you spend, you're going to spend another 1,000 next year. At least this, you're going to get some wear and tear out of that.
Uh-huh. So like, where do you see your business going from here? From how far you've come already? Now you're an instructor, and tell me about that first. Let's talk about your instructing. So, what kind of instructing do you offer?
So I teach classes for the scalp pigmentation. I honestly waited 5 years before I taught a single class, and I just felt that I needed to have a certain amount of time on the job and a certain amount of hours completed before I could say, hey, I felt confident in teaching someone. There's just so many different examples that come up and so many different situations that come up that um, if you don't experience that, you can't teach it. I see people, and I believe that their heart's in the right place. I really do, but I see a lot of new people. They'll come in and they've barely been doing S&P for a year or less than a year or maybe a year and a half, definitely under 2 years. And the next thing I see is them training people, and it's like,
Mm,
okay, I understand you're excited about it. I understand you want to share, and that's great. I support that 100%. But as soon as you start saying, I'm going to train somebody and I'm going to put a certificate on that, that's just something else. Honestly, it's kind of disrespectful to the artists that have been in the game, like me, for 10 years or
mm-hmm.
more. There's people that have been in for over that. And they train and they do exclusive training. Some of them travel around the world. Some of them just stay in their cities. Some of them just do private. Some just do apprenticeship. It's all over the board, whatever
Mm.
you want to do. But at the same time, you get a newer person who is excited and wants to share, and that's great. But you start stepping on the toes of people that know what they're doing. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
6 months, 1 year, 1.5, 2 years, you don't know what you're doing.
When I first started cutting hair, there's no way I could have taught after a year or two of
Yeah.
experience. Now that I have 30 years under my belt, yeah, when you know a hell of a lot of shit, you're
And
you're
you don't
you're
want to teach anybody now because that's just a pain in the ass.
yeah, right. You're in my way, whatever. But yeah, you acquire so much knowledge, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes the knowledge doesn't even come until a situation arises. You know what I'm saying? You might have a someone with an issue that you may have not learned in class, but then you know figured it out somehow, and you know.
People learn all the time. I try to learn something new every day, and maybe it's not necessarily in the treatment room. It could be in the consultation. It could be in a phone, answering the phone or answering questions. I try to dig a little deeper. Yeah. After 10 years, you get stuck in a rut and you think, oh gosh, I just know everything, and that's when you need to slow down. You know, Sometimes your next customer is the customer in front of you, especially as you start to add services. For example, if you're doing XYZ hair treatments, and then all of a sudden you're offering something new and you've got someone in your chair and there's a sign there and they say, oh, what's this? That person in front of you is your current client and now
The future client.
your future. Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
have that happen all the time. That's why we have a lot of visual boards up
Mm-hmm.
in the office that kind of show the other services we provide, because they'll ask questions, and most of the people that come in, I've been working with them for a period of time, so there's a trust level there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to sell them anything. What I have to be able to do is explain it,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to explain it, you better be trained correctly to tell them what it is and how it works. Um, those kind of things are really important. Um, One thing I'm noticing in the space now, in the training space, is there are a lot of higher level people coming
Mm-hmm.
in. And what I mean by higher level people, I'm talking doctor,
Mm-hmm.
um, medical institutes, laser institutes, different things like that. I myself trained Clear Skin Institute um, in Phoenix, Arizona, and then they know a million things more than I do about the skin, and they were
Wow.
absolutely fantastic people to work with and train. They were very receptive to our techniques, and obviously the safety portion. They train. That's what they do. They train people in various procedures and machines that they use, and I think they had about $4 million in skin lasers
Yeah.
in one room. Just
Yeah.
one room. I was like, wow, that was impressive. And like I
Wow.
said, genuine people, but extremely smart, intelligent, and they just need to be shown, the basics. What are the
Mm-hmm.
parameters? And that's what's important with scalp pigmentation, is that you could take the greatest tattooist, and I've trained several tattooists, and they can draw and they do great art and they can stipple and they do everything, and that's great. But when it comes to scalp tattooing, head tattooing, most tattooers respect that so much that they know that they're going to get that specialized training, at least the ones that I've dealt with. And it's come up over and over because tattooing on the head is really taboo. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that I've performed SMP on, and they said, "Oh, that's my first tattoo," and I'm looking at them like, "That's crazy, dude! Like, your first tattoo you ever got was on your head? Like, in the tattoo world, that is just
That's
crazy.
like getting a Mike Tyson on your eyes.
That's a no no. That's a
Right.
no go. I mean, that's a reverse mohawk or something. That's just a no
Wow.
go on that. And but it's changing. It's morphing, and places like what you have, professional barber establishments. You're going to see nail and massage and tanning clinics offering it. Um, Obviously, like I said, the doctor level, you have the surgical world. They've known about it forever. And I work with several hair surgery centers in Colorado and California.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a validation from the medical world for scalp pigmentation, which is big. So they understand it and they know about it and they realize that it is a beneficial coinciding product to their hair surgery products. So that was a big one.
Mm.
I felt like when I first came in, that element wasn't there in 14, but I feel by like 16 or 17, I started to feel that virtually every hair surgery center was like, it was thumbs up time, versus before they were like, there's not enough data. We're not going to take a risk. I mean, they're doctors. I mean, these people are
Yeah.
doctors, so they, you know, malpractice and this and that kind of thing. There had to be enough data available to them for obviously success rate, and pitfalls and regulations and all those kind of things for them to take a chance. I mean, the hair
Hmm.
surgery centers. I mean, some of these centers are so busy. I mean, you're talking they can do $500,000 of business in a month.
Wow.
In a
Mm.
month. I
Huh.
mean, that's good for a year.
Yeah,
They're doing that in a month. That's crazy.
it is
But
crazy.
at the same time, the machines and the things that they're dealing with and their business model, you know, that's probably like us and we're thinking, oh man, we did 25K this month or
Hmm.
35K. And you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's probably relevant to them.
Wow.
So
So let's say you have a client come in. What's the determining factor as to whether you do the SMP or the other service you provide that does the stem cell treatment?
So that's a great question too. So what I'm finding now is we're kind of building success plans for people. If they're really thin, we definitely want to start with the pigmentation because they want to see results. We live in the click gen. Everybody wants to see something fairly quick,
Hmm.
and the scalp pigmentation is something that you can see a result after the first session. I mean, you're not
Hmm.
done, but you can see it. So the client can see it coming.
So you would start mostly in the front of the head. Is that what you usually do for clients like that?
It just depends. It's that's all over the board. Depending on, I base where I start on how thin they are. So if
Okay.
they're extra thin, I'll usually start from the back and go forward
Okay.
and do like the half and half that we talked about.
Hmm.
Like one day and then the next day. So and that's more comfortable for the client. It's more comfortable for your hand as an artist. 10 years of of scalp tattooing on top of however many years of motorcycles and
Hmm.
cars and all that nonsense. My hand, it definitely, you definitely want to plan it out.
So, which do you prefer now that you have both of those services? Now, they're both great services and great alternatives for thinning and balding. You know what I mean? So you can't go wrong with either one. But which one are you more passionate about one than the other at this point because you've been doing SMP longer, do you think? Or
No, I'm just happy for the combination because really what's transpiring now is we have an option without being a doctor to help a client regrow their own hair.
mm,
That's a big deal. That's huge.
yeah.
And it's non-surgical. That's even bigger.
Mm,
So those two factors, it's exciting. I still love SMP. I'll always love SMP. It's something that it's life changing.
mm-hmm.
I had my life changed, and I know what the SMP did for me. So that's not going to change. I mean, there's always going to be people out there that, um, SMP will be their highest choice, or maybe even their only choice.
Yeah.
Because the stem cell, you've got to have some hair up there. So if you don't
Mm,
have anything up there, you're not doing it. So
okay.
if you're a thinning client and you have hair everywhere and it's kind of diffused, you can do the pigmentation first and then add the stem cell after.
Okay.
It's
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you you're not doing the same thing all the time too. That's kind of nice to
Yeah.
switch it up a little.
Yeah. But there's something to be said for being able to do something all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, I don't know. It changes. Every person is different. Every hairline is different. I know some really, really, really high up people in the industry where I'm afraid if they had a party and invited all their friends or all their clients that had SMP, everyone would look exactly the same.
Sure.
I've seen some like that. That's not going to happen at my party. We do different hairlines for everyone. Some are back, some are higher, some are lower. And there's nothing wrong with perfecting and having a certain style. Don't get me wrong. I'm not meaning that at all. But for us, for me, for art,
Mm-hmm.
there ain't no way in hell I could invite a bunch of people to my spot for a party and everyone look the same. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not going to happen.
That's good.
It's not,
That's like giving everybody the same haircut in town, you know?
you just can't
Yeah.
do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you bring 10 or 15 people, you know, 6 or 7 are going to be women.
Uh-huh.
You won't even know that they have SMP because they use the density treatment. So it is what it is, and everyone's doing great. And the artists that do that, there's more than one artist
Sure.
that does that. There's several artists that it's a style and they do that. And you know what? They've perfected it. I like the look. It looks great. They're doing a great job. For me, at my house, I will not do that.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
We have a palette there that never stops. It starts from this choice to that choice and everything in between. So there's not going to be really anyone with like the exact same thing going on.
Hmm. So it seems like SMP is like it just all of a sudden exploded. All of a sudden, did it just become popular all of a sudden because of the internet or social media this last year? I've never even heard about it. And then all of a sudden, boom! Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's posting it. Everybody's.
Yeah, I mean, it's still really a growth stage. I mean, not that many people know, and if you do, you know, because you're in the hair game. If you're in the hair game and don't know about SMP, you're living under a rock.
Mm.
It's been around that long.
So I've been under a rock for quite some time.
Until last year.
Yeah.
You're good now. You're good now. You made it. You made it.
But you have an excellent place, the business, and you do excellent work. And
thank you.
You know, anybody who wants SMP done, definitely hit Eddie up. And Eddie, where can we find you at?
I'm in Cherry Creek on Madison Street, Scalp Artist International.
Very good. Like I say, very professional. Eddie is a meticulously clean in there. Like it's very, very nice. You have a really nice place. Well, keep doing what you're doing, and I really enjoyed having you on the show. If you guys are considering, you know, trying to find an alternative to balding or thinning hair, we have the solution here for you. So you guys are always welcome to hit Eddie up on. You're on Instagram, did you say?
At Scalp Artist International.
Okay. Yep. You did say that, and definitely check it out. You do your research and then go see Eddie, and he'll get you taken care of. And it's so nice that you have all those other things too that you spoke of earlier that you're offering. So I wish the best of luck to you, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next few years. Okay. All right, Denver. Again, one of Denver's best, Eddie Lopez here with Scalp Artist, and we will see you next time.